Joining the podcast is former Sumner Christian head coach, the Alabama Football Coaches Association Coach of the Year in 2021, and current head coach of the Hueytown Golden Gophers, Greg Patterson. Coach, I didn't realize this, but you went to Hayden High School there in Warrior. What kind of player were you?
Oh, probably not very good. Man, that's been so long ago. I don't even know if I could evaluate myself. Especially in this day and age, players are much bigger, faster, and stronger.
What were the battles like with cornerback in your day?
Pretty good. Our arch rival back then was Aniana because it was in the same county. But I do know some guys. I played against from corner because that's where my two out of my four kids graduated from, and uh, they live in that area now. So I get to see some of those guys I played against when I go watch grandkids at the Little League Park
Well, what kind of team did y'all have there?
at Hayden.
Yes, sir.
Not very good. I had four head coaches in 3 years of varsity football. So it was, I mean, love the game, love playing it, but looking back on it from a coach's perspective, it was not a good situation.
Well, after high school, you were going to be a preferred walk-on offensive lineman. You said most likely a center there at West Alabama, but an accident, kind of messed your knee up, and you went into work with, your dad in a business. And you told me that the bug kind of bit you coaching your kids in Little League. Were you always thinking about how you could get connected back to the game, to football?
Honestly, just the way the accident happened. It happened the week after I graduated from high school, and I was trying to get prepared, to go ahead and go to Livingston, which is now West Alabama, and just a freak accident working on one of my former football coach's trucks for him, and got pinned in between my car and his truck, and was kind of bitter about it, honestly, looking back. So went through two or three extensive surgeries and took me probably over a year to get back healthy. And by then it just moved on. I was just worried about making money. Went to work at a couple of other places outside of the business that I'd been in with my dad since I was about 13. Not to bore you with a ton of stuff, but by the time my oldest son, got to 6 or 7 years old and came home from school wanting to play football, and got involved with a little league program there at Hayden, coached him through. And then my second son came, he was 5 years behind him, and just coaching both of them, just realized the lessons of what I was trying to teach them and how many of those lessons I learned from coaches, even all the way back to my little league days. I can still remember my first coach, Bud Adams, and just the impact that they made on me, and kind of got the bug. But, as many people know, educators don't make a ton of money. So I was spoiled a little bit with the business me and dad was running and the money I was making. And when we decided to put Andrew, our oldest son, at Summerton Christian, they were begging for help, and got the opportunity to help with a junior high program there, and was in the box on Friday nights, for the varsity, and was able to kind of live in both worlds for quite a few years, from 98 to 07. And yeah, so I guess just being with those guys in the little league and coaching, relationships, and like I said, the impact you're able to have on kids just really drew me back to it.
Well, like you mentioned, you were able to keep working with your dad and started coaching junior high football at Sumner Christian in 1998. Coach, what can you remember from that year, your first year of, coaching organized school football?
uh that I didn't know what I was talking about, that I had a tremendous amount to learn. It's really so much different than playing. having to communicate to so many different kids on so many different levels of knowledge about the game. And man, I was just young and pretty energetic, and you know, expected a ton of discipline that every kid doesn't get taught at home. And just I feel sorry for some of you guys I coached back in my early part of my career.
Well, you started full time at Sumner Christian in 2007, and you were the defensive coordinator there for Martin Glover. Take me
Correct.
back to that time. Was there a bit of an adjustment going from doing it part time to full time?
It was, and having a coordinator title and just the responsibility. And we were such a small staff. We all still did both sides of the ball, but also having the responsibility of calling a defense on Friday nights, and the preparation that put in. But being able to be at the school every day and having a relationship with kids other than just football. And I kind of had to learn that dynamic as well, because up until then, I pretty much came in at 12:30 or 1 o'clock every day for the last period athletics, and everything revolved around athletics then. And then I was in the classroom trying to handle that side of it too. So it was a pretty big step for me.
Well, you became the head coach there at Sumner Christian in 2009. What was that process like? Were you just kind of like, hey, head coaching jobs opened up, I'm going to throw my name in the hat kind of thing?
It was, Coach Glover left and went to Dora in '08. They hired somebody else that came in, and he wound up just being there 1 year. Um, and I don't know if I was just the last guy standing or an easy hire or whatever, but they asked me if I'd be interested. I was completely invested in Summerton Christian. I knew I wasn't ready, but I knew that I didn't have a problem with work ethic, and we would figure it out. As we got to football season, though, I wondered. It was probably the biggest growth, or the second biggest growth in my coaching career. We went 0-10 that year. I think we had 25 players on the team playing in 3A football. In what we used to joke was the SEC West, with defending state champions in Cordova, Gordo, people like that, Aliceville, some perennial powers really at that. And but the one thing I'm most proud about was somehow, some way, we continued to get better every week when we were just outmatched. And looking back on it, like I said, it's probably the biggest growth I had as a coach, or the second biggest year. And not gonna lie to you, I don't know if I would tell you I'd do it all over again, because going 0-10 will make you question everything that you do.
Yeah. How tough was that year? Were you feeling pretty discouraged?
Yeah, I was, but just felt like the Lord kept me encouraged, because I did see growth, even though it wasn't showing up on the scoreboard. The guys playing back then never quit. They still fought tooth and nail. They wanted to get better. And, that's ultimately what kind of keeps you going.
Well, I only got the chance to play for you for 1 year in 2012, which would have been my seventh grade year. And then you ended up leaving that year after that and going to minor high school. What went into that decision to leave Sumner Christian?
I guess, Skylar, the best way to put it is just philosophy differences. I I didn't want to just exist. I wanted to build a program that competed for championships. Our baseball team, who I think won state championship in '04, if I remember right. And then somewhere around 9, 10, 11 back in that time frame. Softball had won a couple, if not more. And I knew it was possible, but football's a little bit different animal. You got to have more players, than those other sports. And I just didn't see the ultimate commitment from school administration to try to make that happen, and didn't want to keep investing the time that it takes to do that, and not ultimately have that support. So, I resigned. Matter of fact, I still remember the date, December 5th of 2012. Stayed there, and worked, didn't have a job lined up. I prayed about it and was at peace about it. Just knew and felt like God had something else planned for me, and that I had done all I could do at Summerton. And wound up, Mr. Pike, the principal at Minor, offered me a job, and I accepted. I mean, it was close to home, 6A football at the time, and just thought it was an opportunity for me to kind of hit reset and go learn some big school ball under some people that had been doing it a lot longer than me, and took the jump.
You thought you were going to be the D line coach there at Minor in 2013, but was moved to offensive line the first week of practice because of a staff change. Did you have to, was there an adjustment going from 1A Sumner Christian to, 6A at Minor? Were you disappointed that you had to move from O line to D line?
No, I mean, I had been with them all summer and spring, and had invested in D line and had a really good group, and I enjoy that more than I do O line. But being in business and also, playing in the past, if everybody's not a team player, you're not going to be successful. And I just wound up being the only guy on staff that had ever coached a snap of O line in any form or fashion. So I knew it was something that I needed to do. And the crazy thing about it, it was the first, like I said, the week of fall camp. A gentleman that was supposed to do it didn't get board approved, and Coach Cook asked me to move, and I said yes. And the crazy thing, and you'll understand this being at Summerton Christian, I had 27 O linemen my first day of practice. That was more than any numbers I had
More than the whole team at
on the
Sumner
whole
Christian.
team at Summerton. And I was like, what in the world am I going to do with all these people in drill work? But yeah, so I had to learn on the fly real quick because I hadn't been on the offensive side. I had to learn their play calls and schemes and all of that. So it was interesting.
Was that the biggest adjustment going from small school to big school, having more guys at your position than you had on your whole team at the other school?
That and just the talent level week in and week out. That was before 7A, and we were in the region with Hewitt and Trustful, and some of those schools. So, just like I said, week in and week out, the talent level that you saw, um, and preparing for that, and just the hours that it took, pouring into that to try to give ourselves a chance.
After minor, you spent a year at Jasper High School as the D line coach. What was your experience like there at Jasper?
I actually spent 2 years there. Um, got a real good opportunity to go to work. Coach Bruner is the head coach that hired me, but they had just hired a defensive coordinator named Ernest Hill. Ernest had been at Greenville, Spanish Fort, had won a few state championships at Spanish Fort, and was getting to go back to defense, which I really wanted to do. So I kind of jumped at that opportunity to get under somebody like him and learn, and loved my time at Jasper. It's a great place, great kids. Learned a lot about football, and how to prepare and scheme for different opponents with Coach Hill. And that first year with him there is right up there with my 0-10 year about how much I grew as a coach. And still really close friends with him today. He's actually the DB coach or outside linebacker coach at UAB now. So value that friendship and that year with him to learn. And but like I said, I spent 2 years there, and then Coach Manziel offered three of us guys on staff at Jasper to come here.
You're currently the head coach there at Hueytown High School with a 37-14 record. What's been the most rewarding thing about becoming a head coach again? Were there certain things that you learned at Sumner Christian that have helped you at Hueytown?
Yes, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, becoming the head coach here, I'm more of a CEO than I am a coach now, which I think my years in the business world with my dad helped prepare me for that. Um, Money was not just overflowing for us in our program at Summerton. So I learned how to run, even though it was a small program on a tight budget. Things have gotten tremendously better here for us financially. And it was in good shape when I took over, but just knowing, being here a few years under Coach Manziel and knowing the dynamics, but being in the business world and running a business and then having that head coaching experience of dealing, with kids and parents and faculty and administration, I think prepared me for that side of it. But it's been fun. We've been blessed. God has definitely blessed us a lot. Got some great men, on my staff here. And one of the things that I told them when I took over that I felt Hueytown was missing, just looking back at the history, was it was kind of a stepping stone job for a lot of people before me, and that we needed to keep a core nucleus of guys here, because probably even all the way back to before Jameis played here, before a kid in seventh or eighth grade could get here to play for us, they had coaching changes. And I think right now I'm tied for second or third as the longest tenured coach here, and only became the coach in 2019. So there hadn't been a lot of guys stay here for a long period of time.
Well, since then you've coached some pretty great players at Hueytown, one of which I got to work with here at Alabama, Roydell Williams. Talk to me about your time with Roydell at Hueytown. What was it about him that kind of had that it factor? I'm sure you've got to have some pride in having a former player of yours playing for Alabama.
Yep. First of all, just a great young man, you know, never had discipline issues. I guess probably the biggest knock on Roydell, if I had to give him a little grief, was teaching him how to be on time, which I think he probably learned that lesson when he got to Alabama. But man, just a pleasant individual. You've been around him, you know him. You probably never seen him without a smile on his face. Just came to work every day. He wasn't a real big rah guy in the locker room, but walked in the front doors with every day with a great personality. He came to do his job, and man, the God-given talent he's got is off the chart.
Well, Coach, it was great catching up with you. I appreciate you taking the time to chat some football with me. I hope you have the great rest of your day.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you having me. It's good talking to you.